Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe Muro. And now, here's Zoe.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the New Thought Media Network. My name is Zoe Muro, and I am delighted and honored to be your host for Choice, Your Creative Superpower. We're coming to you from Oakland, California, each Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Mountain Time. What do we do here? We explore how you can wield your superpower for the greatest good as you co-create your most fulfilling life experience. For those of you coming back, it's so very good to have you here again. And for you first-timers, welcome and thank you for tuning in. I'm a religious science practitioner with the New Thought Media Network, as well as a transformational coach. My ministry as a practitioner and my mission as a coach are to help people live their lives to the fullest. With that in mind, today, in episode 45, we'll be exploring the relationship between choice and ethics. In an earlier episode, way back in episode 11, we explored integrity, and while ethics and integrity are related, we'll definitely get into that, they're also quite a bit different. So let's take a look at this. We'll start off with why and how they do differ. It's easy to think of both of these terms as being about honesty, about fairness, and morality. But I want you to consider this. Ethics, if we look at the definition, it's defined as the rules of conduct recognized in respect to a particular class of human actions or a particular group, culture, etc. For example, medical ethics or Christian ethics. Ethics is a very broad term, and it applies to a variety of contexts. You could have family ethics, company ethics, social ethics, even national ethics. We look at these as being socially accepted codes of behavior that are applicable in their immediate surroundings. Meaning, for example, within your family, you may be very direct with one another, perfectly reasonable. And if it's my family, very loud. But outside the family, you may be more gentle, more restrained. On the job, you may have a certain way that you behave, a certain way you present yourself, but outside, hanging with your friends, very differently. Integrity, on the other hand, is an internalized personal characteristic of how we behave. And it's actually one of the components or aspects of personal ethics. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Integrity is a word that's often used when talking about objects or systems. If an object is meant to hold water, for example, it needs physical integrity to perform its intended purpose. Its integrity is determined by what it is and what it's meant to do. So if we compare physical integrity, and you'll see later why we're talking about integrity so much. When we compare physical integrity with personal integrity, we can draw some parallels. For example, in a physical context, to have integrity, something needs to perform as intended. In a personal context, maybe that's walking your talk. In a physical context, the ability to hold together without distorting. Personal context, standing your ground. In a physical context, being free from manipulation, either intentional or not. Personal context, staying true to your values. So, coming back to integrity versus ethics, integrity isn't something you can impose on a person. It's their values, their perspectives, their observance of what they hold to be of importance. Whereas when we speak of ethics, we are often referring to the external, essentially the rules and regulations determined by an outside source, not by the individual themselves. Now, we'll talk about different types of ethics as we go through. As a licensed practitioner, for example, I have very specific rules and regulations which I must adhere to if I am going to retain my license. These rules exist to ensure that I act, interact, and present myself in a manner befitting the ministry. As it turns out, while these are external to me, there's nothing in the rules and regulations, the ethics of being a practitioner, which are in conflict with my personal ethics. Coincidence? Hardly. I absolutely chose to ensure that what is expected of me is in complete alignment with my own personal values and beliefs, or I never would have pursued this ministry. Now, let's contrast that with the job that I held in the tech environment years ago. The common practice of the company in question, which actually bought the company that originally hired me, was to charge clients for products they were believed to have without actually ensuring that that was indeed true. It was considered by their top brass as being ethical because the client could always prove otherwise, and then the changes would be refunded accordingly. But if the client happened to miss the additional charges, that was considered perfectly acceptable. I could not accept this practice. I couldn't accept it personally. I couldn't accept it professionally, which meant I could not ethically, by my standards, my personal ethics, I could not perform that job. So when I refused to enforce it, I was summarily laid off, which, by the way, actually turned out to be a tremendous blessing. And in case you're wondering, yes, I informed all of the clients that had been assigned to me that it was advisable that they audit everything they were paying for. It was very sweet. The word ethics and phrases like ethically sourced have become very prevalent over the past few decades, and they just keep ramping up more and more as companies are eager to show that they care. They care for the environment, for their clients, etc. The term ethically sourced, for example, can actually indicate quite a few things. It might, for example, indicate that the product that in question was made without harm to animals or people. That would include upholding the rights of the individuals, providing decent working conditions, addressing health and safety, employing good business practices, and more. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, let's consider a pharmaceutical company. Okay, now they follow all of the ethical standards of their industry. They conduct proper and thorough testing. They ensure that the ingredients that they use in their formulations are free from contamination, and that the product actually does what it says it's going to do. And then they charge an exorbitant markup because it's so widely needed. You know, according to the AMA, American Medical Association, prescription drug prices are negotiated, right? And those negotiations often happen behind closed doors. So that leaves patients and physicians out of the negotiations, despite the impact that drug pricing has on the health and treatments of patients. These negotiations are often a collaboration. The pharmaceutical company, the distributors, the health insurance providers. I'll tell you, I find it very difficult to see this practice as being ethical, regardless of how widespread it is. So while the ethics under which an employee of a company works, or the ethics that a community sees as being proper, while those are not necessarily within the purview of an individual, doesn't mean there isn't a choice involved. Okay, most certainly not. Okay, so as I said, ethics might not actually be based on individual choice, but choosing to explore and understand what the ethics of a company, an institution, or a community actually are is a choice. It becomes of paramount importance to one's integrity, which carries into their personal ethics. Choosing to behave in an ethical manner, it can be challenging at times, but ultimately, it's highly rewarding. On more than one occasion, I've purchased a product that was so inferior and such a departure from the way it was described that I had to post a negative review. And on more than one occasion, I was contacted by the manufacturer or the supplier or the distributor, and I was told, you can have a full refund. All we want you to do is just take down that review. I do not understand how they could possibly recommend that. Why would I want the next person to come along to not have the benefit of my experience? Now, does it really affect me by following my own perspective on this, following my own ethics? Yeah, it did. It means I didn't get the money. But I can't understand why I would hide the information. It felt wrong. It was an insult to my ethics. I'd rather eat the cost of an unusable product than allow others to be duped as well. So I see ethics as one of the crucial factors that can contribute to choice. And once you have made a choice about your ethics, that indicates, or rather that informs many choices after that. So looking more deeply at your own personal ethics and understanding their sources, their convictions, their assumptions, could be a challenging choice to make, but one which I believe will serve you extremely well. Let's see. Oh, hello, Shay. Good to see you. Folks, look forward to seeing Shay's show on the New Thought Media Network fairly soon. Definitely looking forward to it. Oh, I forgot to put this up. Okay, let's see. So I suggested that it would be worthwhile to actually consider how we create or define our personal ethics. So let's talk about some of the aspects or components that could contribute to personal ethics. And I suppose this would be true for all ethics, but most certainly for the personal ones. So first I would say, and this is my take on this, folks, you might have a very different approach. That's fine. First, I would say for me, it's honesty, because I find it difficult to imagine how I could be ethical or make an ethical choice without honesty. Now, this means being honest not only with others, but honest with ourselves as well. It's very easy to try to hide from yourself at times, and it never works out well. Next I would list would be respect. Again, respect both for others and for oneself. And here we're talking about respect for one another's autonomy, one another's rights and interests, and not discriminating based on someone's religion, someone's sex or gender identity or race. But it goes beyond that, all right? Because it's also about recognizing the intrinsic value of all people. And to truly respect that intrinsic value, we celebrate it. Right? It's not simply something that is acceptable, not something that is tolerated. No, that's not respect. Okay? We celebrate. Next, I would say for myself would be integrity, ensuring that the words and actions reflect the values and they're in sync with one another. Saying one thing and doing another, no, doesn't work. All right. Closely related to integrity is responsibility. Taking responsibility for your actions and being willing to make course corrections as needed. You know, it's very common for people to do or say something and have a particular intention in mind, but how it lands on someone is not always as it was intended. To be in integrity, right, part of my personal ethics would be to take responsibility for that and to see what I can do to deal with that situation. Sometimes it's a teachable moment, right? You learn something that you had not known. For those of you who are allies, this is a process that we go through to understand and to learn and to be able to appreciate how different someone else's experience of life can be. And I would also add trustworthiness. Ensuring that you can be trusted, that you can be relied upon. So I consider that to be sort of my base list of ingredients, if you will, of my personal ethics. Regardless of the circumstance, the location, the time, the individual or group, you name it, these are the factors which must be in play for me to act ethically. Each one of these is a choice that I have made in defining my personal ethics. And I would encourage you to consider how you define your own personal ethics and examine your underlying beliefs to ensure that they are in alignment. Another choice, and a truly key one, is, we've mentioned this briefly before, it's to evaluate the ethics of whatever profession, organization, or group to which you belong or are considering joining, and see if there is alignment there with your personal ethics. If not, well, there's another choice you could make. If there is a disconnect, a misalignment between the ethics of that organization or profession, whatever it might be, and your personal ethics, how does that affect the choices that you make? Are you aware of where the impulse to act or react a particular way comes from for you? Anytime that we make a choice, we also choose what factors, what information will be operating in our decision. If I see a burning building, I am very unlikely to try to enter it. My choice being based on maintaining my safety. However, if I see someone in danger, my choice to save them would put aside that personal safety. And okay, disclosure time, folks. Disclaimer time, if you will. Generally speaking, I am not recommending running into burning buildings. All right, let's just get that out there. Knowing what means the most to you can help you determine your personal set of ethics. So be clear about your priorities. For example, if you regularly put others first, you might have a personal ethic of selflessness. That sounds wonderful, and it might very well be. But remember, we're looking at the why that we act or operate in a particular way. If you're regularly putting others first because you feel that you're unworthy of placing yourself first, or you're operating out of guilt or shame, while that might be part of your personal ethics to put another person first, it's hardly a benefit to you. And, ultimately, it's not a benefit to others either. Make a list of your personal priorities in life and see how they contribute to, how they support your personal ethics. Consider your practices and your beliefs, what you believe in, and the things that you practice can shed light on your unique personal ethics. Here's an interesting and informative exercise. Write your own obituary. It might sound kind of morbid, but think of it as what would be read at a celebration of your life. Take note of the things that you would want to be said about you, how you would want to be remembered. Some things actually might already be part of your life. Others may be goals you have yet to address. Now, look at it not as a way to be remembered, but as a way to validate what you believe to be your personal priorities and contributors to or manifestations of your personal ethics. And since our whole show is about being able to live a fulfilling life and to have the greatest possible experience of life, if you take a look at your priorities, all right, and you do not see how they reflect your ethics, hey, you have some work to do. Once you've gone through this part of the exercise, then take a look at how you actually spend your time, how you do indeed prioritize in your life, and look for what is congruent and what is not. Excuse me. While you are considering your personal ethics, bear in mind We cannot force anyone to live by our own code of ethics. It's personal. It is the essence of who we are and how we want to be in the world. Plus, if we're respecting others, forcing someone to live by our code, no, that's not being respectful. Now, having said that, it can definitely be difficult to remember, and it's very easy to fall into judgment. Okay, something to watch. Ethics are not words written on a page or engraved on a plaque, nor are they cast in stone. They are alive, dynamic, and actionable. It's one thing to say we are all creations of the one loving spirit, but it's quite another to be open and loving when faced with disagreement, disapproval, even scorn. As our beliefs and priorities change and evolve, so too do our ethics. I think of what was acceptable behavior for me years ago. I can see I have changed considerably. I've expanded my understanding, and I found not only the need to be more open, but the incredible benefits that can accrue from that. The more aware we are of the sources of our beliefs, our priorities and values, and our ability to validate that, the better prepared we are to think and act in a truly ethical way. Well, that'll do it for me for today, folks. I hope that this discussion has led you to ask yourself some questions, to consider whether or not you are indeed making the most of your life. Look at what it is that's important. Look at what it is that truly brings joy to you. Look at what it is. And if you are a person who absolutely revels in service, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. This is all part of your ethics. Take a good look and find what works the best for you. Hello, Alex. Let's see. Alex says, our personal ethics are an essential element to creating and sustaining healthy lines of connection and communication. I agree, most certainly, Alex. Thank you. All right, folks. So, as always, if there is something that you would like to see me discuss in a future show, let me know. Just send me an email. Let me put my email address here. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. You can connect with me at zodemuro@gmail.com. And I would be delighted, absolutely delighted, to consider what you would like to hear about on a future episode. Maybe you'd like to discuss an episode or discuss some aspect of choice. Once again, send me an email and we'll work something out. I truly appreciate your spending time with me this week, but I would absolutely invite you to go to ntmedia.org and see all that we have to offer. You can see all the different shows on each of the different days. We have over 40 hours of programming. I'll just give you a preview, for example, of today. So today at 12 noon Pacific time, that would be 1 p.m. Mountain time. check out Finding the Joy in the Journey with the amazing Reverend Gina Calvario-Krupka. Today, he has a special guest, the awesome Tracy Brown. Then at 1 p.m. Pacific time, which is 2 p.m. Mountain time, there's the Vibrant Living Hour with the ever-engaging practitioner, Ken Ludwig. And of course, 7:15 p.m. Pacific time, 8:15 p.m. Mountain time, evening prayers. If you're looking for prayer, for meditation, information, discussion, we've got it, and so much more. If you find what we do to be of value, and if you would like to help us to reach the widest audience possible, please go to ntmedia.org. Look for that donate button. Help us make this a world that works for everyone. I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until we meet again, choose wisely, choose well. Namaste.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zo Muro.